Yo, yo, thanks for tuning in to the Maniacal Pod Talk. Happy New Year's. We back 2025. And we just gonna figure out what 2025 is gonna be about. But before we get started, Mike, go ahead and drop that intro for my people. All right, again, like I said, thank you for tuning in to the Maniacal Pod Talk. Right now, we're coming in on the new year, 2025. And, I was sitting back thinking, what type of message could I bring for the New Year's? And obviously we think about New Year's resolutions and things like that, and so I came up with four things for myself that I believe that you'll be able to relate to when it comes to mindset, when it comes to wanting to achieve goals and things like that. So welcome to the new year edition of the Maniacal Pod Talk. And like I said, I got four things that I want to share with you guys today. So going into number one, I got written down here, and I'm gonna stick to my notes because I want to make sure I hit some of these points really good. But number one is just a game plan, right? And what I wrote down here was getting back to the basics of life. So everybody think about, okay, what type of game plan can I possibly have to succeed and reach some of these goals? And like I said, getting back to the basics of life, and I got stop complicating everything. I know a lot of times I complicate life to the point that it's just no excuses. Life has a way of making us have our game plan to be cloudy. And it's for no other reason. It's our bad experiences that we have in life. And the bad experiences and the things that we're thinking up in our mind are the things that make having, that game plan really hard to do. And so when I say that, have a game plan, let's just wipe all the complex strategies out of the window. Let's get rid of all of that. Let's get back to the basics, right? And what we want to do is we want to stop planning to protect ourselves against the bad outcomes and the negativities, right? Because when I think about me, I think about when I'm planning something. I got things within me that I know are there, and I start to kind of plan to counteract those things versus just sticking to a plan, because a plan is a roadmap. And when you it's silly, I'm thinking about it. When you look at a map, you following a GPS, you got your game plan there. All you're doing is just following the directions. That doesn't mean that, I-270 is going to be shut down at this particular part. That doesn't mean, the lane is going to go from a 3-lane road to a 2-lane to a 1-lane road. There's going to be potholes. There's going to be construction barrels. Like, those things are going to be there. But you can't plan and go after your game plan with those things in your mind already. Those are things, what do we say? We cross that bridge when we get to it. So let's stop coming up with the game plan with the negative outcomes in there, right? And we're trying to follow our dreams. So let's just get to that and stay focused on that. If you want to be good at something, you got to do it every day. And I got that written down here. Like, it really comes down to the basic concept of practice. Allen Iverson, we talking about practice? Yes, we talking about practice. Like, it's really that simple. If you got a game plan, you got to practice your game plan. I think about any sport I've ever played. I think about any game I've ever played, any test I've ever taken. It comes down to practice and doing those things every day. And the reason why I say that is because I think about the Will Smith book that he put out, his about himself. He tells a story in there, and in the story, he talks about how his dad was making him work and he had to build a wall. But the principle of that story was when you're doing something and building this wall or chasing this dream, you got to focus on what you got in front of you for the day. And in the story, in the book, he talks about when his dad explained to him, like, look, just one brick at a time. You grab the brick, you put all your focus and attention on placing that brick perfectly on the wall. And if you make sure that brick is laid perfectly, you stack it up there perfectly, you make sure everything is in line, you line it up with the next one, you make sure all of that stuff is done perfectly. Next thing you know, you mess around, have a whole wall. And that's the message that I want to, convey or get across to you, and the message that I'm putting on to myself going into 2025, because instead of thinking about what can happen, and instead of thinking about what the wall is going to protect me from or keep out, just I know that I want to build a wall, and in order for me to build this wall, I need to start one brick at a time. And so let's just do that. Let's practice doing today perfect. We'll worry about tomorrow when tomorrow comes, but right now, let's just focus on that one brick. And then let's say going into 2026, who knows what you're going to have in front of you? Who knows the gift of the labor that you've put forth because you had that maniacal mindset to just continue to go and strive, right? So just one brick at a time. That's one of my favorite things about that Will Smith book. If you haven't read that or listened to that, like, I encourage you to go ahead and check that out, because there's a lot of good gems in there. You know, it all comes down to just practice every day. Even if it's just an hour a day, it does not matter. You've played sports, and I hate to keep, going over that point, but it's really that simple, because we think way too deep and in depth about what can we do to better ourselves. Like, let's just put all that to the side and just one day at a time, for an hour, just work on whatever it is that you want to see for your life, and whatever goal you might have, right? Let's just do that. That's number one, right? And so I want to get into number two. Number two I have down here is to be happy with the person that I am. And man, you could talk about this particular topic for days, months, hours, years, whatever the case may be. When we think about social media, we see people doing things because other people are doing things. We got constant peer pressure. Like, I like to think that I'm not influenced by peer pressure, but I know better. I'm smart enough to know that I'm sure there are some areas in my life where I allow that to, pressure me or influence me into maybe doing some things or thinking some things that, I don't necessarily agree with or would, take on for my life. But those things come in, and we have to do our best to try to, grab a hold of those things and clear them out of our lives, right? I feel like learning how to be happy with the person that you are, it goes hand in hand with having a game plan. Because if you're not happy with yourself within, then you'll constantly find ways to prepare for those questionable thoughts about what you have about yourself. And if you know that you have some inefficiencies in yourself, and whether it be your mindset or, whether it be your work ethic, when you're coming up with that game plan, if you're not really happy with what's within, then it'll ultimately affect your game plan. And that's what we try to avoid in 2025. Regardless of what other people's expectations are of you, whatever misconceptions people might have about you, it's funny, because in my heart of hearts today, I don't really care what people think about me. But deep down, everybody cares somewhat about what other people think. There's probably 3 or 4 conversations that I've had with people this year, and the thought process behind those conversations are, you're not necessarily what I thought you were on the base. I feel like I present a certain way as a man, when people meet me, whether it be you see me, whether it be on social media, you see me out in the street, I feel like people look at me a certain way and they come up with a certain idea of who I am in their mind. Come to find out after they interact with me a couple of times, they're like, man, you're nothing like what I imagined you would have been. And so, regardless of, people's expectations or whatever their misconceptions are of you, I want us to get to the point to where we don't pay those things any attention. Um, there's a clip from Nipsey Hussle that I like that kind of sums up a lot of the thought process, and it helps to what's the words I'm looking for? It gives confidence to wanting to be happy with yourself, regardless of what other people think. And Mike, I'm gonna have you go ahead and play that Nipsey Hussle clip for us, please.
I learned when I was younger, like, you can't put your expectation of me on me. I'm me, you feel me? And you're not gonna ever make me feel bad for it. You're not gonna, make me react to how you reacting to me. I don't care, I'm me. And if I part of who I am, is disrespectful or is, crossing the line of like basic things, I'm gonna check myself. But, we all are individuals. So for you to think my balance or my ratio, I'm to this or to that, and I ain't got enough of this and enough of that, that's all love. Just keep it to yourself.
All right, so there's a lot to unpack in that clip. And so, I think about that particular ending part to where he's like, if I don't have this or I'm not that or what you think I should have, like, just keep it to yourself, and we got to be comfortable in our own skin. You got to be comfortable in your own skin. I can't get a win if I'm not comfortable within. You know what I mean? If I'm trying to fit in, I'm not going to make it. And so you think about another thing that he said in there is like, if I'm out of pocket and, you come and you tell me that I did something as a person, I can address those things and I can check myself. But other than that, like, you're not going to make me feel bad about being who I am. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And that's okay. We got to get used to ignoring the judgment that comes onto us from other people, because why is that important? Because if we can build that bubble of confidence within ourselves, we can go ahead and plan and execute and build up our beliefs to, execute on our goals and things like that. So let's leave that where that's at. I can't get my win trying to fit in. Let that sink in your head. I can't get my win trying to fit in. Just be comfortable with yourself. Know who you are. If you don't know who you are, take time to discover that. There's things that I'll share a quick story. It might not be so quick, but I'm going to share this anyway, just so that you can understand where I'm going with that. Growing up, you, as a black kid in America with black parents, you grow up and they tell you all of the things that parents tell their kids, stay in the kid's place, speak when you spoken to, all of those sorts of things, right? And so I had to do a lot of work on myself. And what I had to clear out was the mindset that you're always lower than the adults, because if I'm always not speaking unless I'm spoken to, and I'm always, staying in the kid's place, nobody ever tells you when it's okay to actually speak your mind and like stand on your principles and, say what you got to say and feel how you got to feel. And so there was a time in my life when I had to really sit back and think like, the Jewish community, they have, the bar mitzvahs when their kids are turning into a teenager and all of these things. Oh, now you're a man now. Like, we don't really have nothing like that in our communities. And so I grew up with the mindset of, when you're around older people, make sure you kind of just, stay quiet and, don't be heard and, respect your elders and all of those things. But at some point, if you hit 25, 30, 35 years old, like, you are the adult. But mentally, I don't think we really thought about what that would do to a kid mentally if we keep telling them to stay in your place, stay in your place, stay in your place without allowing them to know when actually now you have a seat at the table. And so I really had to do a lot of work to find, I'm going to just call it my manhood, because nobody ever flipped the switch for me to be like, well, now you can go ahead and say what you want to say. I think about things, different boards I've been a part of. Let's say the church board is the one I can think of. You sit in the church board, you got, elders, you got a pastor, you got older church members, you got everybody speaking. And in those settings, that's when I really realized my mindset, because I had things to say in those settings, but mentally I was stuck as like a 12-year-old. Well, these people are older than you, they've been around longer than you. So just, speak what you spoke it to, and, mind your elders, so to speak. And so I really took time to think about what that did to me, and I had to really dig myself out of that. And I share that for whoever's listening. If you think about that and you find yourself in that same space where, like, man, I kind of think like that, I still don't really speak my mind the way that I feel like I should among my peers or among, older people, like, I'm empowering you right now to think about that part of your life, to just break out of that and find your comfort zone, and I can keep rambling on that too, but I'm gonna just move on. Just, you gotta find the comfortable space for you. You gotta be happy with who you are at the end of the day. Um, let's see, where am I at? I'm at number 3. This is number 3 on my personal resolutions that I'm sharing with y'all, right? Um, to be honest within myself about myself. What am I good at and what am I not so good at? And sometimes it's really hard to pinpoint flaws within ourselves, like, because let's just be real, we think we are the shiniest crystal in the cupboard. I don't know how to put that, but like, we really be feeling ourselves, we be smelling ourselves. And sometimes, when it comes to like being honest with yourself, like, you got to know what you are good at and know what you are not good at. I'm learning about myself, what I am good at and what I'm not good at, like, even right now today, because I want to know, because ultimately, if I'm gonna be the type of leader that I want to be, if I'm gonna be the type of, business person that I want to be, do the things that I want to do, I have to know what I'm not good at, and I have to know what I am good at. Why? So that you can delegate to people who are good at those things and help you. And that really brings me to team building, because if you can identify your areas of strength and your areas of weaknesses, then you'll actually be able to build some type of a team, right? And again, all of this is flowing together for me. So when I think about building a team, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I got feelings about groups of people that I see doing stuff together. And I don't mind being vulnerable about that, but I'm a human being just like everybody else. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna sit here and look at y'all in y'all's eye. Y'all can hear me in your ears if you're just listening. Like, when I see a group of people working together, accomplishing like good things, I get in my feelings about that, because I'm like, man, like, it's really possible, but it's like, where's my group? You know what I mean? And I feel a way about it. Like, I'm not ashamed of the fact that I feel a way about it. I wouldn't call it jealousy or anything like that, because I'm always happy for people like, yo, that's dope that y'all was able to come together to do X, Y, and Z. But it's just like, man, like, team, how can I have my game plan together going into 2025? How can I identify what I'm good at? How can I look at myself and be confident in myself and just execute, figure out what I'm not good at to build a team that we can build together? Because I feel like building a team is really what it's all about too. Like, it's not always about yourself. We know anybody who is most successful, it's because they give, right? And that's really the gist of life. Like, you can get really deep on a spiritual, biblical, God, Jesus level when it comes to giving. But it's really ultimately about giving to other people. And unbeknownst to you, when you give to people, like, you get in return. Like, I'm trying not to get too spiritual, but like, the purpose of giving somebody a Bible study is not only to help that person understand the Bible, it's also helping you learn the Bible yourself. Like when you give to somebody, let's say you're, I don't know, donating something to somebody, like, yes, that person is getting a donation from you, but it does something for you too, you know? And so I'm trying not to get on a rant with that either. But, you know, when I think about team building, how can you find a team and how can you build a team? I got down here in my notes too. When you practice, you find other people practicing and they become your team. Like, I really feel like that's going to be pivotal for me, because the goals and the game plan that I'm building for myself this year, like I'm gonna actually write this stuff down. I've never been good at writing things down, like my goals and trying to execute them. I always like, oh, I got these goals in my head, I'm gonna go ahead and execute, and I'm sure stuff fall by the wayside every couple of minutes because you can't remember everything. So like I'm gonna really try to focus and write down the game plan, and I'm gonna practice every day. I'm going to, while I'm practicing, see my friends that's practicing and actually be able to build a team. And like all of this stuff is gonna go to building up my own self-confidence, you know, and being happy with myself, right? Let me see where I'm at. Okay, so team building right here in my notes, I got, this is also why relationships are so important. Now, in the past episode, I touched on a little bit how relationships can make or break you. That's just what I'm gonna say. You know, some relationships can be good. You know, some relationships can be bad. And some upcoming shows, like I got a list of a couple of couples that I'm going to bring in to speak to us about their form of teamwork and how they build together. I got a couple that's just boyfriend and girlfriend doing some crazy things together. Like I guarantee this couple that's coming soon, you've seen their videos, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on Instagram, whether it be on TikTok. They get millions of views. They work together. You've seen it, and I'm not going to spoil it, but when you see them, you'll know. I got another one of my best friends, him and his wife. They work extremely well together, and they're building. You know, so it's, yes, team building in the sense of friends, but for me and my experience, team building in like the relationship world is really something that I really take personal when I consider, you know, what I've come out of and what I'm going into, you know, in the future, you know, because finding relationships that's conducive to the maniacal mindset is of the utmost importance, that you line yourself up with people who are going to give you the safe space to fail, the safe space to achieve, to gain. I think about a lot of, let me think, because I can get real deep when I think about this. When I think about myself, right? I'm gonna just be real with y'all for a moment. When I think about myself, I've told everyone on the very first episode and touched on it a little bit in the second episode about like a divorce situation that I'm going through. Almost to the end, you know, it's a long time coming. I'm not gonna celebrate in front of you because that's not the proper thing to do. But what I'm gonna say is, and not to put too much business out there to protect the parties involved, when I sat back and I thought about how I want life to be, when I thought about how ambitious I like to view myself as and the things that I want to achieve in life, in my heart of hearts, I don't really feel like it was possible in the situation that I was in. I could give you several different reasons, but I won't, again, just out of respect. But when man, it's so crazy, Mike. Like I'm tripping because I want to say so much, but you can't say so much at the same time. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna just say this: when I pop out, whoever I pop out with in the future, Just know that that person is conducive to the maniacal lifestyle that I want to live and the way that I want to go, because it's really about teamwork. Like, everybody has their own individuality as far as what they want to see. But when I identify the the things that I'm good at and the things that I'm not good at, I needed to let that situation go. There were times when I would think to myself like, "Yo, this is all life is going to be for you." And if you know me, that's a real hard pill to swallow. You want to talk about anxiety attacks and high blood pressure and headaches. And like I said it before, like I'm never going to say something here that I haven't said that's not already out there. You know what I mean? I'm not a disrespectful person, but when I tell you a brother was scared to go to sleep, a brother was scared to go to sleep. I didn't know if I was going to wake them eyes up the next day. But like, not to continue to dwell on that so hard, but I just want to lay down the importance of having the right people in your life. And so I don't get in trouble saying too much about this, I'm going to say it like this. And oh my goodness, it's just so many things. I'm going to say it like this: leave the situations alone. Okay? I'm going to just say it like that. If it's a friendship and it's not conducive to really where you trying to go, if the friendship is not conducive to you being who you are authentically 100%, let it go. If the relationship is not conducive to the maniacal mindset of what you want in life and where you want to go, if it's toxic, if you can't work together, if it's not any, like, if you don't feel supported in what you want to do, and if you can't work together, let the relationship go. Because I'll say this: I don't feel like there's ever a loss of time when you find yourself in a relationship and you got to leave the relationship. A lot of people say, oh, well, because we've been together so long and it's so much time. It's okay to feel like that, but I wholeheartedly believe that nothing is a waste of time, because you learn and you grow from every scenario, no matter what. So listen, just do what you got to do going into 25. If it's leave a friend behind, if it's leave a family member behind, if it's leave a relationship behind, yo, do what you got to do, because there's a clip coming up, and this is really a short episode for real, for real. It's a 2025. Get into your bag, set you some goals, and get after it type of an episode, right? But there's a clip coming up that's really going to help you understand, like, look, I need to be happy within myself. I need to be happy in my space, right? So I'm going to leave that alone, because I'm probably going to get some heat somewhere along the line for that. But you know what? I don't care, because it's how I feel, and I'm keeping it real, and I'm happy with myself. All right. So, you know what I mean? Wrapping up, number 4, and I'm sure, like, I'm laughing at myself throughout all of these notes that I got. I know I probably left some stuff out, didn't put some stuff in, but you know, when you trying to protect other people, you mess up a little bit. And I'm not saying that I messed up, but I'm okay with skipping over some stuff if I skip some stuff to prove the point, to get my message across to y'all, right? So anyway, lastly, number 4, the goal of this show, right? And let me just say this. This show wouldn't be possible without my brother Mike on the other end, switching the camera angles up. He editing as we go. He's doing everything that you could ever ask somebody to do, right? This show wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for that man right there. So I'm going to just say thank you, Mike. Going into 2025, like, me and Mike are teammates. When I think about building that team, Mike is somebody that I know is a part of my team, and like, I just can't tell this dude how grateful I am for him. And so, you know, the goal that I have for this show, right, is ultimately to help. When you think about this show, I want you to think about it being the code of self-esteem, so that if you're a fan of the Maniacal Pod Talk, you're ultimately a fan of yourself. And that's what I want you to know. That's what I want everybody to know. Like, think about this show as a code of self-esteem. So if you enjoy this show, I know that if you're taking something from this show, I can be confident knowing that you're also a fan of yourself, because I'm all about, self-growth, and I'm exposing myself to y'all in order to help somebody. And in tune, like I was saying earlier, me exposing who I am is actually freeing for me. And so it's a give and take. And so continue to tap in, man, and just, look at this show like that. And that's what I want you guys to know, man. And this is really it. I'm at the end of my notes, but I want to say this. Run this show back. Come up with your game plan. Keep it simple. Go back to the basics. Come up with a plan for yourself and practice it every day. Be honest with yourself about who you are so that you can ultimately be happy with yourself going into 2025, right? And when you come back here on the next episode, I'm going to try my best to give y'all more content that's going to help you along the way, because it's going to help me along the way. And not that you need it, but sometimes when people hear something, it does something in their mind. So right now, I just want to give you permission to be you going into 2025. I give you permission to be yourself, no matter what anybody thinks about you, no matter what anybody say about you. Just go out there and go get it. And until next time, be maniacal. Mike, go ahead and play that last clip for the people and the outro, and we're going to get up out of here, my brother.
But it's successful. Just to maintain that level of success, it has to be very draining and, a very sad existence, because at some point you have to go home. And when you go home, all the lights are off and everything's off, and you have to look in the mirror and you have to look at yourself and say, man, I like who I am, or I'm not very happy with who I am.